Council, I call upon the representatives of the Manitoba Kiwi Sinawi Makana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Manitoba Kiwatinawi Ogimaganuk recommends that the Permanent Forum call upon member states to engage in a process of collaborative co-development with Indigenous peoples to develop and enact legislation that will require the review of those arrangements entered into with Indigenous peoples prior to the adoption of the Declaration, and which continue to purport to provide a social license to construct and operate major resource development projects. The objective of such a review is to assess the consistency and compliance of these prior arrangements with the Declaration. Consistent with this objective, we further recommend that the Permanent Forum call upon member states to recognize and adopt reconciliation with Indigenous peoples as a required key input or a primary driver of change in every regulated, integrated resource plan or operational plan, further to these pre-declaration arrangements. In order to better integrate Indigenous peoples' issues into programs and policies reflecting Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and the 2030 Agenda, the Permanent Forum has recommended that the human rights-based approach to development should be operationalized by states, the UN system, and other intergovernmental organizations. Such a human rights-based approach includes the recognition of Indigenous peoples as distinct peoples, and that respect for their individual and collective human rights is crucial for achieving a just and sustainable solution to the widespread poverty that affects them. In northern Manitoba, almost every major river has been modified into a vast system of water control, water diversion, and hydroelectric generating stations, all of which are within the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples. These systems are operated to achieve maximum control and utilization of water flows for the sole purpose of producing electricity for domestic use in Canada and for export to the United States. Beginning in the 1960s, these developments have and continue to dramatically and adversely impact water quality, disrupt food sovereignty and access to foods and traditional medicines, community health, language expression, and the conduct of these practices, which are integral to the cultural identity of Indigenous peoples. All 6 of the mandated areas of the Permanent Forum are engaged by these energy development and by the effects of these developments on Indigenous peoples. These pre-declaration arrangements with Indigenous peoples and the operation of the energy projects they authorize do not reflect a human rights-based approach to development that is consistent with the Declaration, nor reflect programs and policies consistent with the Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and the 2030 Agenda. MKO thanks the esteemed members of the Permanent Forum for this opportunity to share our views. Thank you.